What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the elaboration station. If all passengers could take their seats, we're ready for liftoff. Cue the music. Welcome back to another episode of the Elaboration Station. I'm your host, Tanner Westbrook, and today I got to sit down with a special guest. His name's Kevin Coulton. He is a Marine Corps veteran. He served in the war in Afghanistan, and today we talked about some pretty heavy topics. We talked about PTSD and, coming back from the military and what it's like being reintroduced to normal everyday life after you've been through something like that. And we had a great discussion, and I hope you guys all enjoy it because I know I sure did. And here we go. Kevin Coulton.
Yes, sir.
Military, veteran, right?
Right.
It would be a veteran. How long did you serve for?
I was in for 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
Is that 2 tours or 1?
Well, the first deployment was a MU, which is a Marine Expeditionary Unit. You're on a battleship, so you're basically with the Navy. And my second deployment was overseas to Afghanistan, so it is 2 deployments, but not 2 combat tours.
Got it. What made you get into the military originally?
Honestly, just a sense of duty and service. There's a good quote that basically says, a lot of people go through life and wonder if they could have done something more, and Marines don't have that problem. And not that, that like 100% is the truth for everything. But that was kind of the reason behind wanting to join up, was just that sense of service and knowing that I could look back later in life and be satisfied.
Now, did you go in right after high school?
No, not right after high school, actually. Took some college classes, went through the police academy, and then joined the Marine Corps after that.
Got it. So that was probably like a year, 2 years after?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2009 is when I went in.
What do you think of when people go straight in after high school, like when they're still so young, and they make that kind of assumption they want to do that before, and then they can't bail out because they already signed up and all that stuff? Do you think you benefited from taking a few years to kind of do your own thing and then going in?
For sure. I mean, yeah, I would say that's pretty subjective, though, based on everybody's individual experience. I think that some people going in to the military service, like right out of high school, is a really bad idea for some people. For other people, it's a really fantastic idea. So it just kind of depends on the individual. For myself, I would definitely say that I 100% appreciate the fact that I waited a little bit. It wasn't always my plan. Like, I didn't know I was actually really going to go through and do that until I did the police academy. And I realized that sense of duty that I was looking for. So it was more of a logical choice after that to join the Marine Corps. And by that point, I was just turning 21. So I was a little bit older, had a little more experience, and I would definitely say that was very instrumental.
Where'd you go when you did, what's the precursor of the training?
Boot camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was MCRD. It's Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was in San Diego. And it's about 12 weeks long, I believe.
What are some of the tasks that you have to do there? As far as like physical fitness, getting ready to go into the military, What is the main kind of protocol for what they're doing there?
Well, basically, like in boot camp, you're judged based on what's called a PFT. It's a physical fitness test. So you do that, before you actually go to boot camp. You basically meet up with your recruiter and stuff like that, and you practice running pull-ups, sit-ups, stuff like that they would test you in. But the actual physical requirements in boot camp, just a lot of running around. It's kind of hectic. It's very chaotic. A lot of getting yelled at. Running, I mentioned. Hiking, pull-ups, rope climb, that kind of stuff.
Did you have to like ruck and do stuff with packs and all that stuff?
Yeah, there's several different hikes that you do in phases at boot camp, and each one's kind of like a milestone that you get through. And the last one's the Crucible. That's the bigger training event that takes place. At which point you actually become a Marine. They give you the Eagle Globe and Anchor. But what they don't tell you is that if you're in the infantry, you don't really become a Marine until you go to the Fleet Marine Corps and experience what life in the infantry is like. And that's kind of your real rite of passage, I would say.
Now, did you have to go through all the pool training, or is that just like a Navy SEAL or like a Marine? Is that a Marine thing too, where they put you through a pool?
Yeah,
like
and
almost drowning you.
it's not I wouldn't say it's that extensive. It's definitely not like Buds or something with Navy SEALs or any type of special forces unit. Those guys are going to be, I mean, they basically become fish. The purpose of doing any type of water training in the Marine Corps as a base just for boot camp is just because you are an amphibious force. You attack from sea to land and stuff like that. So it's good to know what to do if you're in the water, but we don't spend an exorbitant amount of time on it. The majority of Marines are non-infantry and in military occupational specialties that cater to more of a support role. So in boot camp, it's just like a pretty quick down and dirty, hey, we have like, a few days in the pool, and mixing in with other physical training and stuff like that. But it's definitely not overly extensive.
So once you got your, what is the emblem? Or
the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor.
Okay, so once you get that and you go into you said you don't really get you're not really a Marine yet. You don't become a Marine until you're in the infantry. So what's the difference?
Well, so what I meant by that, and I should clarify, you're totally a Marine. Like, you actually earn the title. You are a Marine. But if you are doing a job that's not infantry, a lot of the times it's just a little bit different of a mission. So you're not focused on training really hard out in the field and basically learning how to survive and eliminating the enemy if you come in contact with them. Your main objective is as a support role. So with those types of jobs just comes a little bit more ease. They do train out in the field still, just not nearly as much, and they do still qualify with their rifles on a yearly basis, so they can be at least somewhat proficient in weapons. And but the vast majority of Marines are really solid. So, but the infantry though is just a totally different animal, and it's only about 10% of the Marine Corps that is actually infantry, and that's your physical ground, force unit that goes in to deal with a problem. And so in that world, it's just very much a type A personality, man's world all the way through. And there's just not very much room for bullshit. So the training is a lot more extensive. It's a lot more intense. You're out in the field, the majority of the time.
So earning your respect of the peers that you're with also.
Right. And your senior Marines, I mean, you basically treat them with the utmost respect and through customs and courtesies. They're not your friends at all. You don't get into the Marine Corps and they're like buddy with you. It's the complete opposite. Actually, it's pretty awful for a while, but you learn to appreciate it, especially when you gain a little bit of seniority and you look back on it. You realize that everything that was done the way it was done was, it was all for a reason, and the reason is so you can come back, and so more of your friends can come back, and I would say that's absolutely necessary, and that the training the way that it was when I was in was a very good thing.
Well, they probably can't have any softies either, so you got to be able to get yelled at and all that. What would you consider that? Banter? Not banter, but verbal abuse.
It's just pretty much Marines are loud and they don't have a filter and they swear a lot. So it's just all mission oriented, I mean, obviously you fuck off with your brothers a lot of the time, and it's not all just like super serious, but
now you said brothers, so do you stay in contact with anyone now that you're outside? I would assume it's like a friend for life, like a brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I have multiple of those, though. I mean, I even have group messages on my phone still. We communicate daily. We just talked today. In fact, I have a platoon reunion coming up in Texas in June timeframe. And so, yeah, made a really, really solid group of friends that I would definitely consider family.
That's freaking awesome. So you said you were on a boat. Like, what did that entail? Like, what were you doing on the boat? Like grunt work where you're cleaning and doing stuff like that, or was there a mission when you were on there?
So I was in 81's platoon, which is it's a mortar platoon. And basically we were what's called TRAP, or tactical recovery of aircraft personnel. So if a plane went down, whether it was an accident or it was shot down, then we could potentially go out and perform the rescue operation. So that was just like kind of a side gig that we were doing while we were on the ship. So we would train for that and stuff. We did some fast roping out of helicopters, that type of thing. Other than that, ship life is going from port to port. It is really kind of boring. Sometimes there's a lot of white space, which is basically just downtime. And so you get put on pretty shitty menial jobs of, trash duty and chow hall duty and stuff like that, because you're basically looking for things to fill the time, and you're on the Navy's boat. So
Yeah,
you're kind of under their,
under their stuff.
Right. I mean, obviously our chain of command isn't really affected by them, but if they need people tasked out to do things on the ship, then you capitulate.
So what was the food like while you were over there? Like, were you eating like nutritional stuff where like, because you guys have to perform so highly,
right?
And I've definitely tried one of those packaged food things that you eat,
the MREs.
Yeah, and those don't seem like they could be the best to eat for an extensive period of time.
You would honestly be surprised at how fucking good some of those become when you're out there long enough. You get really creative with the cheese spread and crackers and all the other things that come in an MRE, which stands for meal ready to eat. But yeah, you can get pretty creative. I had this one guy that he was actually a boot to me when he came in. Awesome dude. He's still in the Marine Corps now. That's basically somebody that's underneath you.
Okay.
So they're brand new Marine, kind of like fresh blood, basically. And so I was in charge of him, and he turned out to be an awesome Marine. He's still in the Marine Corps. But he liked to put jalapeno cheddar cheese on his brownies that came in the MRE. So yeah, you can get kind of creative.
Well, it's always surprising because some of those guys are just jacked. Like, some of those guys are super jacked, and they probably aren't eating nothing but high dense processed calorie food.
Right.
It's not like they're having like steak dinners every night.
Yeah. Well, if you're not out in the field, you're not like eating MREs, you know what I mean? So you can go, you can go Taco Bell, you can go to the PX.
Okay.
You can go anywhere out in town and stuff like that. Like, if you're not in the field, you're pretty much living normal. You might have like physical training in the morning or night and stuff like that, but
you're by the base.
Yeah, you're on base.
Got it.
Yeah. So the only time you really eat MREs is just out in the field and over in country, which if you're on a FOB, which stands for Forward Operating Base, then you have some Marines that are cooks, and they basically just like make preheated stuff, or not preheated but pre-cooked, and they're basically just larger MREs for the most part.
So what do you think the most you said you carried a pack and stuff. Did you have any like injuries when you came back from carrying like a backpack with all the weight on it?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, being in the infantry definitely ages your body. It's just they call you a grunt for a reason, so basically it's heavyweight, long distances. Usually the weather is not very nice. So, your body can only take so much, and obviously the vast majority of guys do a great job, but definitely like the most common things, knees, hips, back, definitely those things are affected through, just a lot of extensive use of them.
So when you were touring, what would, like, if you were walking out off the base, what did your like gear entail? Like a pack?
Mm-hmm.
What was the whole protocol?
Like in a combat area, yes. Or I guess in training too. Well, you have a combat loadout, so you have magazines of ammunition in them, whatever your primary weapon is. Depending on who you are, maybe a sidearm. And then you have, basics like water, chow, some medical stuff, tourniquets. You have body armor on.